everybody, my name is Aspirin Tax, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about how Netflix announces 2020 original movies. The first movie on the list is called The Old Guard, from director Gina Prince Bythewood, and it stars Charlize Theron and Kiki Lane, who lead a covert group of immortal mercenaries who must fight to keep their team together when they discover the existence of a new immortal and their extraordinary abilities are exposed. Sounds blood-pumpingly exciting, and usually Netflix is pretty good about making the movies with giant stars like Charlize Theron really good. Looking forward to that one, Netflix. The next movie on the list is called Miss Americana. It's from director Lana Wilson, and it's a raw, emotionally revealing look at Taylor Swift, following one of the most iconic artists of our time as she learns to embrace her role not only as a songwriter and a performer, but as a woman harnessing the full power of her voice. Now, I'm not personally a Taylor Swift fan or a fan of documentaries in general. I'm generally a narrative guy. I watch movies with plot and acting. But this sounds like if you are a fan of Taylor Swift and you are a fan of documentaries, you'll love it. Now, the next movie is called Mank. It's a weird name, and it's from director David Fincher. That sounds pretty good so far, and the story centers around the writings of Citizen Kane. Gary Oldman, Amanda Seyfried, and Charles Dance star. Charles Dance. Okay. That movie sounds excellent, actually. It's based around Citizen Kane. It's got actor that I like in it. What's his name? Gary Oldman. God, I'm old. Okay, the next movie is called Uncorked. It stars Mamadou Athie, Courtney B. Vance, and Niecy Nash. The names on those people. Holy Christ. Anyway, they star in Prentice Penny's feature directorial debut. Elijah, who is played by Athie, must balance his dream of becoming a master sommelier, which I don't know what it is. Google that for me real quick. And talk about it in the comments section down below. Anyway, so he is planning on becoming a master sommelier with his father's expectations that he carry on the family's Memphis barbecue joint. Sounds like a rough gig. Been there, man. Been there. My dad wanted me to be a doctor. But I'm not. The next movie is called A Fall from Grace, and in this thriller from Tyler Perry, Grace, who is played by Crystal Fox, is a disheartened woman restored by a new romance, and she discovers her relationship is full of secrets, and her vulnerable side quickly turns violent. It stars Felicia Rashad, Brescia Webb, and Cicely Tyson. That movie sounds like something that I'd watch with a girlfriend. So if you've got a girlfriend, there you go. The next movie on our list is called Rebecca. It's director Ben Wheatley's adaptation of Daphne du Maurier's novel, which was adapted by Hitchcock in 1940. Obviously, we all knew that, right? Anyway, it follows a newly married young woman, played by Lily James, who finds herself battling with the shadow of her husband's Armie Hammer. Is the guy who plays that. Armie Hammer. Oh my God, the names, dude. Anyway, she is battling with her husband's ex-wife's dead ex-wife. Sounds really terrible, actually. No, if I were in that situation as a married man, if I were in that situation, it would be awful. I would hate to be in that situation. I would be sad, and I would write a movie about it. The next movie is called Hillbilly Elegy. Amy Adams, Glenn Close, and Gabriel Basso. Hey, Gabriel, good on you, man, for being in the same sentence as Amy Adams and Glenn Close. That'll never happen again. Anyway, they star in director Ron Howard's, bam, Netflix, coming up with some fire this year. Ron Howard's adaptation of J.D. Vance's memoir of the same name. It's a modern exploration of the American dream about 3 generations of an Appalachian family. Could that be any more vague or boring sounding? I don't think it can. The next movie is called DA5 Bloods. The latest Spike Lee joint follows 4 African-American vets who return to Vietnam, searching for the remains of their fallen squad leader and the promise of buried treasure. Chadwick Boseman, Paul Walter Hauser, Norm Lewis, and Delroy Lindo star. That sounds pretty cool, actually. Spike Lee film, it's got buried treasure, Vietnam. Only question I have is, will they have guns? Okay, the next one's called The Boys in the Band. From producer Ryan Murphy, Joe Mantello's adaptation of the play follows a group of gay friends who reunite to celebrate one of their birthdays. When the host's potentially closeted college roommate shows up uninvited, the evening is thrown into turmoil. Not my cup of tea. It sounds kind of like a chick flick, but if you put women in the same movie, it would probably sound like a chick flick too. The plot sounds chick flickish. The plot sounds chick flickish to me. And the next movie is called To All the Boys, P.S. I Love You. It's got Laura Jean, who is played by Lana Condor, and Peter, who is played by Noah Centineo, and they have just taken their romance from pretend to officially real. On Facebook, most likely. When the other recipient of one of her love letters enters the fray. Probably going to be watching that one with the wife. Am I right? The next movie is called Eurovision. When aspiring musicians Lars, played by Will Ferrell, and Sigrid, played by Rachel McAdams, are given the opportunity of a lifetime to represent their country at the world's biggest song competition, they finally have a chance to prove that any dream is a chance worth fighting for. Now, being that it is a Will Ferrell movie, and being that Will Ferrell is generally in funny movies, I would have to assume that this is supposed to be a funny movie, but given the premise that I just read, it does not sound funny. The next movie is called I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Doesn't sound good for someone. Okay, a road trip becomes a twisted mix of palpable tension, psychological frailty, and sheer terror in the latest from Charlie Kaufman. It stars Jesse Plemons, Jesse Buckley, Tony Collette, and David Thewlis. Sounds like just about every horror movie I've ever seen in my life. The next movie is called All the Bright Places, and it's based on a novel by Jennifer Niven. Brett Haley's adaptation tells the story of Violet Markey, played by Ellie Fanning, and Theodore Finch, played by Justice Smith, who meet and change each other's lives forever. Not much to go on there. I mean, anything could happen. He could come into her life and he could throw her out of a car window while it's going 70 miles an hour. That would change her life. And then he, because he threw her out the window, wasn't paying attention to the road, and he swerved and hit like a median or something, and then he went through the front window. You know? That could change both their lives. We have no idea what's going to happen in this movie is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And the next movie is called The Last Thing He Wanted. In this Joan Didion adaptation from Dee Rees, a veteran DC journalist, Anne Hathaway, loses the thread of her own story when a guilt-propelled errand from her father thrusts her from byline to unwitting subject in the very story she's trying to break. Anne Hathaway is one of my favorite actresses, and I think that's going to be really great. She usually selects her roles really, really carefully, and this sounds fascinating. And the next movie is called Tiger Tail. This film from writer-director, he wrote and directed, Alan Yang, who wrote and directed, I assume, Master of None. I didn't check anything on that, so feel free to correct me in the comments if you want. Tells the story of a Taiwanese factory worker who leaves his homeland to seek opportunity in America, where he struggles to find connection while balancing family and newfound responsibilities. Could that sound any more boring? I mean, goodness. And the next movie is called The Willoughbys. Convinced they'd be better off raising themselves, the Willoughby children hatch a sneaky plan to send their selfish parents on vacation. Get out of here, parents. Then the siblings enact on their own high-flying adventure to find the true meaning of family. Goodbye! And the next movie is called The Half of It. Shy, straight-A student Ellie is hired by a sweet but inarticulate jock Paul, who needs help wooing the most popular girl in school. But their new unlikely friendship... gonna make a prediction. I think Ellie's gonna fall for him. You think Ellie's gonna fall for him? I think Ellie's gonna fall for him. Probably gonna fall for him. Probably gonna fall for him. I bet you Ellie falls for the jock guy. Anyway, their unlikely friendship gets tricky when Ellie discovers she has feelings for the same girl. All right. Anyway, it's from writer-director Alice Wu. And, subverted my expectations, I'll tell you that much. I'll probably check it out. The next movie is called Dick Johnson is Dead. Dick Johnson. Man, imagine being that guy in high school. In this inventive portrait, director Kirsten Johnson seeks a way to keep her 86-year-old father alive forever by staging fantasies of death and beyond. Together, dad and daughter confront the inevitability. Fuck. All right, the next movie is called The Platform. Next movie is called The Platform. In a future dystopia, prisoners housed in vertically stacked cells watch hungrily as food descends from above, feeding the upper tiers but leaving those below ravenous and radicalized. Whoever came up with that strategy of feeding people from above, like you're clearly an a-hole. Clearly an a-hole. Okay, that's all we're going to talk about today. There are a few more, but if you found this video informative, entertaining, or either of the above, feel free and hit subscribe and then like, and you'll be notified when I post content. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, so my thing died. My thing died. So I've got to... Okay, Dick Johnson, most of you probably aren't going to get this far in the video anyway, so I'm just going to finish up, okay? Finish up using the computer because my teleprompter died. So I'm just going to do it this way. Dick Johnson is dead. In this inventive portrait, director Kirsten, actually, seeks a way to keep her 86-year-old father alive forever by staging fantasies of death and beyond. Together, dad and daughter confront the great inevitability awaiting us all. That sounds heartwarming.